Hey, Steve Saretsky here. Just want to touch a little bit on the Vancouver pre-sale condo market. This was something that I helped Kathy Tomlinson out of last year, who really exposed some of these pre-sale condos. Some of the stuff that they were pulling, what they're, basically, they're all these pre-sale condos is they market it out saying, hey, get on our list, join this VIP access list, and get in on all the action. And what ends up happening is it's really just used that list is basically used as a proxy to see how much interest they have in the specific development. And what they end up doing is basically marketing all these projects overseas before any local can get their hand on it. So it's really, in the middle of a housing crisis where we've seen, people getting squeezed further and further out, prices going up 50% 2 years, that developers are actually marketing these projects overseas. It's really unfortunate. And this is something, again, I shed a light on with Kathy. I also put a blog post on it on a specific project. I'm not going to talk about that one because, was given a cease and desist order from the developer. That's the sort of thing that we're dealing with. Anything to sort of expose the truth in terms of what's happening here. Basically, what I'm trying to summarize is what happens is, these developers and everybody, in the industry is pushing for more and more supply. And, we're building that. 2015 and 2016, you had record amounts of new supply coming on. And what happens is that then gets pre-sold out overseas, to China and whatnot. And none of it, so what happens is it gets pre-sold and then it gets assigned or flipped to a local at a higher cost. So it's, it's essentially a Ponzi scheme. Investors are using it as speculation. So what happens is when you buy a pre-sale, you're essentially buying it as a pile of dirt and doesn't complete for 2 years. So they buy it off the developer and they don't end up paying a 15% foreign buyer's tax because it never registers in land titles. That's the only time that the 15% tax gets applied to it. So basically, they buy it, they put down their 5% deposit, they put down another 5%, they get up to maybe 15%, etc. And when it comes time to getting closer to closing, whether that's 6 months out, a year out, that sort of thing, they'll put it on as an assignment, and then that gets flipped at a higher cost to a local who eventually buys it. But it's just really sad because they're pushing for more and more supply, and then they market it overseas. And then really, if you're a local, if you sign up for the VIP list, if you come to me trying to help get me into one of the buildings here in Vancouver, or Burnaby, or Richmond, there's no chance. They have a select number of quote unquote VIP realtors that they work with who have these high net worth clients that come in and buy 2, 3, 4 units. Sometimes even they buy entire floors. And they buy it up, and of course it's never actually lived in. It's either used to rent out long term, it's flipped upon vacancy, or it's flipped as an assignment. So at some point it eventually gets flipped at a higher cost to the consumer. But the big thing here is there's really no access, so you can continue to build more and more supply. But at the end of the day, if a lot of it's getting left empty or assigned at a higher cost, it's really not helping locals. And it's happening everywhere. There's a lot of assignments. I was involved in one in New West the other day. Guy who had bought it obviously has made a pretty penny over the last year alone. Something like 25–30%. They assign that at a higher cost. And another thing to note is with a lot of these pre-sale condos is it's very hard for CRA to track them because, again, it does not register in land titles. So a lot of the times these people don't end up paying capital gains tax. So not only do they not pay a foreign buyer's tax, but you're generally not paying a capital gains tax when you go to flip it because it never registers in land title as that person. So very hard to track. It's a purely speculative move. And again, it's painful to watch. It really is because the locals are they're getting scammed here. And developers they're pushing for supply, and there's no regulation in terms of who they're allowed to market to. Some of these developers are now they're almost bypassing even their VIP agents and going direct overseas and pre-selling entire buildings, and then the local signs up on this local signs up basically on this VIP list, thinking that they're gonna get in and buy a a 1-bedroom studio for $400,000 or $500,000. It's just not gonna happen. These guys sell it overseas, they market it overseas. There's never anything left for locals. It gets flipped, higher, assigned. Just go look at any of these new buildings that actually do complete. So when they get closer to completion, you'll probably see a whole bunch of assignments on the MLS if the developer allows them to market on the MLS. A lot of them don't, so a lot of them are private deals. And then if they do get to the point of vacancy, go look and see at any of these buildings downtown or in Vancouver, generally any of these areas, as soon as they complete, you'll see a flood of listings in that specific building, because what happens is they just wait for it and they flip it at that higher cost. You can go downtown, again, some of these buildings. I'm just going to give you the building One Pacific as an example. It's had vacancy permit for a while. People have been moved in probably 8 months now, 6 months, 8 months. If you actually drive by the building, go look around. I would say half the building's got to be empty. Drive by at night, all the lights are off, that sort of thing. With a vacancy rate below 1%, you can't tell me that these landlords are having an issue renting them out. That's just not happening. People are simply not living in them. Again, a lot of this stuff is sold overseas. Anyways, that's just my 2 cents. It can go on forever and ever. A lot of realtors I've spoken with in my office, in general, are getting. It's disgusting to see, because really what's happening is, condo prices, we have an absolute flurry of multiple offers happening. Condos are setting new highs, not only in Vancouver, but as Wally, Abbotsford condos are up 30%. And so you have these condo prices that are absolutely shooting through the roof. Again, part of that is from terrible government policy, such as Christy Clark's subprime first-time buyer loans, which has added even more fuel to the fire. You've created even more buyers in a market that did not need any more demand. So you have terrible government policy stacked on top of more terrible government policy. So you implement a 15% foreign buyers tax. Now now the foreign buyers shifted away from a single-family house on the west side. The new single-family house is the pre-sale condo. You flip it, there's no capital gains. It's very hard to track. You're over in China. And there's no 15% foreign buyers tax if you flip it before closing. So there's just loophole galore. So basically, we're in the middle of a housing crisis, and what's happening is it's total speculation. It's a total Ponzi scheme, and also the local consumer, the local income earner is absolutely getting destroyed. They're getting squeezed, and they're really being sold a lie. So that's my rant. That's my 2 cents. I hate to be so negative, but if this stuff that you have to get off your chest, I think it's something that needs to be shed more light on. Again, I know Kathy Tomlinson did a remarkable job last summer. It's something that if this city wants to have sort of any hope in, having some sort of functional economy, some sort of, proper jobs where people can actually live and work here, where, again, now we're seeing Abbotsford condos going up by 30%. Until we start addressing some of these issues, I think if developers are going to push for development and say that we are in a quote-unquote, this is a supply issue, that they better start selling and marketing and actually giving locals a chance to buy this before selling it over, offshore. So, anyways, that's, again, if you can do me a favor, comment in the section below, give me your thoughts, hit subscribe, and yeah, appreciate the support as always.